Hello everybody, happy Easter. I hope this video finds you well. It's time to go through One Piece chapter 977, in which we find that the raid on Onigashima is being set up as a marine fort situation, where the main character is essentially going to charge forward to get to where he needs to be. Now in this situation, it won't just be him running forward. He will be accompanied by his rival, so we can look forward to that. Those two groups are essentially going to be charging ahead, and then everybody else is going to go around the island via the flanks. Law's pretty much used to Luffy not following any plan whatsoever, so the plan is to adapt to Luffy not following the plan. But I think just because of that, I think there might be a chance that Luffy goes through with the plan this time. Don't you think that would be a classic Oda troll? That, you know, the one time that Law is counting on Luffy not following the plan, Luffy actually follows it. That would be a massive troll.
This week's cover page shows Lola and Chiffon finally reuniting. And if you remember, I think what this cover page is implying is that back in chapter 966, we saw who we thought was Chiffon at the salon getting her hair done. And then the Marines busted in and they were like, yeah, we're looking for somebody linked to Capone. And so I think what happened was that there was a shift in perspective. And so that was Lola all along. So if you go back to chapter 966, it's definitely confirmed that that's where we shift perspectives, and that's definitely Lola. Because this cover page here pretty much confirms that Chiffon has been with Pez all this time. And so I'm curious if like Lola's going to join Capone's crew, or you know, if she has somewhere to go. Because again, I think this has to lead somewhere that has some payoff in the main storyline. Anyway, we start off the chapter with the crew celebrating and hugging Jinbe for his return. And the first thing that pops out at me, aside from how huggable Jinbe appears in that panel, is Carrot. Why did Oda decide to include Carrot in that panel that seems to be exclusively reserved for the Straw Hats? That's a very interesting and unique choice, to say the least, right? To include Carrot in this reunion. Although, I mean, she was there in Whole Cake Island, so she got introduced to Jinbe back then, but it's still very interesting. And also, if you look at the way the panel is structured, it reminds me a lot of this volume cover. So yeah, just compare that panel to this volume cover. It's very similar. Granted, some of the Straw Hats are occupying different places, but the way that it's structured is very similar.
According to Jinbe, the Sun Pirates are okay. They were just wounded, and so they needed to be healed up. But apparently, I'm guessing they were able to escape Whole Cake Island, moderately okay. So in the beginning, everybody's hyping up Jinbe, and Nami talks about Jinbe's great achievement back in Whole Cake Island when he was able to surf a wave with the Sunny when they were trying to escape Big Mom. And because Jinbe is a new member of the crew, it's only fair that the Straw Hats celebrate his incorporation the same way that they've celebrated the previous incorporations with a toast, right? Except they don't have any alcohol. But Zoro, and I don't know if this is supposed to be like, he's so much of an alcoholic that he can smell the alcohol, or if this is observation hockey. I think it's the former.
Then one of the three musketeers, Sicilian, although I like to call him Sicilian, steps up to the plate. He says he's going to lead the Mink army, because I guess, actually it's too important, and so he's going to be with the Scabbards, with the group of 9. And to be quite honest, Sicilian's appearance was a reminder to me that we haven't heard anything about Nekomamushi yet, and the fact that Nekomamushi isn't here. So, I kind of wonder how Oda is going to have the cat show up. I mean, it'd be kind of cool if he showed up with Izo. But yeah, basically the armies are being relegated to characters that have much minor roles in comparison to the Scabbards here. Hyogoro is going to be taking the samurai, so that just gets me hyped for whoever the Scabbards are meant to fight. Because if Oda's taking away that responsibility from the Scabbards, then that lets me know that the Scabbards are going to have their hands full. The chapter actually gives us a glimpse into the Onigashima terrain, and according to what we learn, there's a line of mountains surrounding the area. And so when I read that, it brought me back to, do you remember like one of the openings, We Can? Remember that opening? We saw some scenes in that opening where the Straw Hats were busy fighting some of the Beast Pirates. And, it was really weird to get those scenes back then because we were nowhere near this point in the story. But now I'm pretty sure that those scenes were intended to be set outside of Onigashima. because you see the cliffs and the terrain is very similar to what is explained in this chapter. So what's up ahead is that we're going to see a lot of members of the army fight their way through that terrain. And thanks to the anime expanding a little bit more on the manga, we've already seen a little bit. We've gotten like hints and glimpses into the island already. In particular, the episodes that cover the portion where Big Mom is, heading up the waterfall. We see some of the inside of Onigashima there with Queen and Kaido. And then when King leaves, you get a glimpse at some of the cliffs that are surrounding the area. So the exit that King uses in that scene could be the entrance in the back that Law refers to in this chapter.
And so right now, everything is pointing to some of the major fights taking place within sort of a dungeon type setting. Because they say in this chapter that Onigashima, like the real core of it, is kind of a castle. So the plan is essentially to split up and have the Alliance go around the skull so that they can enter from the back. And then Denjiro says, okay, so that's the plan that you revealed to Kanjiro, but what's the real plan? And then Kinemon is like, so that seems to be a running gag now that Kinemon actually gets credit for these strategies when in fact he's pretty much clueless. But anyway, ultimately, the whole point of this is to be able to create as many openings as possible to get inside the castle. And so, according to Law, because Luffy and Kid are going to charge forward anyway, that allows for a distraction, right, to be able to go around the skull and enter in from the back. And so with that set up, Law's original idea was to take the samurai, the 9 red scabbards, aboard his submarine, which is interesting because he's been wanting them to get off. He picked them up and then he wants them to get off, but then he's also going to give them a ride. So it's this very complicated love-hate relationship in terms of who Law wants aboard his submarine. So he's going to go underwater to avoid the whirlpools, and then he's going to use room to teleport the guys in. However, Kinemon says that he wants to be the one to lead some of the men, to boost morale, and Denjiro kind of agrees with that, so he volunteers to take one of the mountain paths to send in the guys that way. Now, according to the official translation, Denjiro actually says that there should be one of us for each path. Now, Hyogoro is part of that scene as well, so I don't know if he means that Denjiro is going to be taking one group around the skull, and then Hyogoro is going to be taking the other group, and then the scabbards are going to be with Law on his submarine, or if he means that Denjiro himself is going to take one group and then Kinemon is going to take another group, and then the rest of the scabbards will be with Law. It's a little bit confusing, but I'm pretty sure it'll be clarified in the next chapters. Because what they can do in this situation is to have Denjiro lead one group around the skull, have Kinemon lead another group around the skull, and then have Hyogoro follow in with Kid and Luffy, behind Kid and Luffy, with the rest of the samurai. There's a bit of a battle station under a torii gate that leads to the island, and the Straw Hats are already busy defeating all of the soldiers. We get like different shots, really cool shots of like Luffy, Jinbe. If you look at the Zoro panel, you can tell that the guy that Zoro attacked had his weapon sliced. And then we have Robin going, Mille fleur, gigantesco mano, stomp. Frankie's punching a dude into the ground. Brooke is freezing people. The Straw Hats are just making it look easy, and no panel depicts that best than Sanji. He's just like casually just having a smoke while kicking somebody in the abdomen. Woo! There you go. Sit down, son. You know what would have been great? If he had been playing Animal Crossing while landing that kick.
So all those action panels look really great. However, I do have to say that I'm very conflicted about the use of Chopper, Nami, and Usopp hiding from the action, because on one hand it's like, I get it, it's comedic relief, and it is kind of funny that they're hiding while everybody else is taking out the garbage, but at the same time it's kind of a letdown that they weren't a little bit more cooperative, especially when you consider the fact that in the previous chapter Usopp was like, I can shoot down Kanjiro. Like, I mean, he was on it, right? And Chopper was able to block Big Mom with his guard point momentarily, and Nami was able to land a Thunderstrike attack on Big Mom. So it's kind of like, really? They're afraid of fodder? What's going on? So it's a combination of it being funny and it being annoying.
I'm just looking at the panel where Zoro finds the alcohol. I've rarely seen him so happy. And then Luffy, the guy that Luffy took out, is actually a pretty decent sized guy. And again, it was no sweat, just very casual. Everybody was in base form. So it just kind of gives you an approximation of how strong everybody's gotten. So they find the booze and they're about to toast for Jinbe, but the soldiers start coming in. And so, thanks to Luffy's orders, the party is postponed. Which, by the way, like this is something that we kind of already knew was going to happen. We will have a party. There's always a party after the final battle of each arc. I mean, I think as far as the New World goes, the only arc where I can remember a party not happening was Whole Cake Island, because they had to leave there because, you know, Yonko Big Mom was after them. That being said, those parties are rarely hyped up. And so I find it interesting that in this chapter, like, Oda actually decided to dedicate some time to hyping up that party. And I think I read somewhere, I think it could have been an SBS, where Oda says that the party of each arc, that's his favorite part to draw. He just loves drawing those scenes. So it just kind of gets you thinking about the scale of the party that is to come after the end of Wano. And I also, like, perhaps this is just, you know, my interpretation, but it also could be that Oda is giving the readers something to look forward to, given everything that's been going on in the world right now. So maybe this is Oda's way of telling the readers there will be a party. Not right now, and it's going to take some time for it to arrive, but eventually we'll get there. Now, what I find interesting is that Luffy said that the party will take place once we defeat Kaido, Orochi, and Big Mom, or once we beat Kaido, Orochi, and Big Mom. So I was thinking, like, is that supposed to foreshadow an order of how they're going to be defeated? Anyway, we see Kid suddenly speeding in, and there's a bit of a heartwarming moment there, to be honest, with Kid's crew, because the crew is showing solidarity for Killer's condition, because he ate a smiley devil fruit, so he's forced to always smile and laugh. And so the crew is sort of like, you know, encouraging that laughter in a way, saying like, fa, 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 fa. They're laughing the same way that Killer does. And so I think it's Kid who says, like, now we have to be one of those crappy, corny, cringe crews that is always happy and laughing.
They're all aboard the Victoria Punk, and this time we get to see the ship from the front. I want to say that it's probably the first official appearance of Kid's ship, like the full body view of the ship from the front ever in the manga. On that note, something very quick that I forgot to mention last week was that, and I was reminded because of Killer and his laugh in this chapter, that Kanjiro, if you read the previous chapter, Kanjiro now has a villain laugh. If you read the previous chapter, you'll notice that as he's on the crane, he's laughing, ka 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 ka.
So because Kid's crew is showing solidarity by laughing with Killer, not at him, but with him, Luffy gets upset because he thinks that they're having a lot of fun because they're laughing. So he pretty much puts Jinbe to work immediately. He's like, Jinbe, I know you just joined, but you gotta get to work. So make sure we get to the entrance before Jaggy does. And Jinbe's like, yes, Captain. Aye, aye. I love Chopper's face in that panel. Looks like a ditto. We finally go inside Onigashima, and there are some strange, weird revelations going on in this final page. But first we see Queen dancing, and he wants some Oshiruko, but Big Mom also wants some Oshiruko. So I can kind of suspect that maybe that's going to play a role later on, the Oshiruko for Big Mom. Orochi is busy creeping on somebody there. You can tell because of the little hearts. And then there's a shamisen player, you know, setting the mood. And initially I thought that shamisen player could be Hiyori, but then I remembered that no, it can't be Hiyori because Orochi and the rest think that she's dead. There are also two panels that are silhouettes that I think are drawn in the same way that panel where Orochi was first introduced was drawn, right? And so the first panel is with Big Mom, and I think it's kind of funny how the assistants have to climb up a ladder or, you know, have to go up a little platform to be able to fix her hair. And then the second panel with the silhouette is a very strange creature. Like, who is that? Like, I first thought it could be Kaido, then I thought it could be Orochi, but I cross-referenced that silhouette with what Orochi and Kaido look in their Zoan forms, and they don't seem to match. The creature seems to have like these weird horns that go downward. Also, like his arms are like really skinny. It's really, really strange. Plus, it seems like the people there are making fun of him for not being able to hold his barrel right. He's already drunk. Whoever it is, he's already drunk. And so he can't hold his barrel right or something like that. And I don't think it can be Kaido, because Kaido in his dragon form has like these cuffs on his wrists that have spikes on them. Plus, we see Kaido in the same page, and he's drinking out of a sake cup, not a barrel. So I'm kind of getting the impression, I could be wrong, but I get the impression that that silhouette belongs to Kaido's son, maybe, because Kaido calls for his son in this page. And he says, like, where is he? Like, you know, he should come out. Where is he? His silhouette has some similarities to like a Oshi Oni, Japanese bull demon, or he also kind of reminds me a lot of like what I envisioned the chupacabra to look like, if I'm being honest. And then we hear like the footsteps closing in.
If you remember what Law said, the Flying Six are supposed to be the top, the strongest of the headliners. So in other words, you have the Flying Six, and then above them is Jack, Queen, and King. So that's how it goes. You got the Calamities, and then below them, right below them, are the Flying Six. And if Oda is sticking to the hierarchy of the cards in terms of power scaling, then that would mean that Drake should be technically the strongest out of this group of 6. And then, you know, I don't know how the others would rank, but if he's following the order of King, Queen, Jack, and 10, Drake would correspond to the 10. And then we also know that page 1 is part of the group as well. So we already know 2 out of the 6. We only need 4. Now, if you look at these feet, it would appear that one of the Flying Six is a woman, because you see her wearing heels and a fur coat. So I wonder if Oda's going to give Nami or Robin a one-on-one fight this arc. So we might see one of the girls fight her. I think that'd be pretty cool. The guy at the front is wearing some pretty nice dress shoes, and so automatically the character image that jumped into my head was that of like a Rob Lucci type or a Sanji type. Then again, knowing Oda, I suspect that some of the character designs for these guys are going to be very silly. Now, the guy with the dress shoes could actually end up being the leader. Like, if it weren't for Drake being the 10, I would not hesitate to assume that that guy at the front is the leader of the pack. That being said, it just depends on what Oda wants to do with it and how he wants to play with the card hierarchy. Which also brings me to another point, which is that since page 1 is a card game, and there's a card theme to Kaido's army, pretty sure each of these characters, with the exception of Drake, has the name of a card game as well. And they all should also have ancient Zoan devil fruits, because there's a bunch of them that we're missing. I said this before, but you know, we don't have a T-Rex, we don't have a Velociraptor, we don't have a Stegosaurus, we don't have a saber-toothed tiger, we don't have a Triceratops or a Parasaurolophus, and we're also missing a Pachycephalosaurus. So there's just a bunch of, you know, different options for Oda to choose from and expand on them with these characters. Also, one of the guys, to me at least, appears to obviously be a samurai because of his wooden sandals there. And then he also has a katana. And the thing about that katana, though, is if you look at the scabbard, it has that flowery pattern that reminds me a lot of Enma and Ame no Habakiri. And so I was kind of thinking that perhaps it could be Brook, the one to fight that guy, or it could be that since this final panel is implying that Sanji did not take out page 1 fully, right? It could turn out to be that maybe Zoro and Sanji get 2 of these guys as a warm-up fight as well. But let me know what you think. I also have another question. Do you guys think that one, or maybe more than one, I don't know, of the Flying Six is a character that we already know? Or do you think the 4 of them are going to be brand new? I'm only asking because sometimes during each arc, there are these mysterious character introduction moments. And my mind, for whatever reason, tends to jump to Gin. Because if you remember back in the Baratie, when he left, he did mention we're going to come across each other again. You know, we're going to meet up at some point in our journey on the Grand Line. And that hasn't happened yet. So what happened to Gin? And when is he showing up? Because I actually thought that he was going to show back up in Whole Cake Island, and he never did.
So yeah, I really want to see what the Flying Six look like. I want a full shot of them together. I think that'd be great to have like Drake and page 1 and all the others. Who is Kaido's son? Who is the mother of Kaido's son? Is he that weird creature that appeared in the final page as a silhouette? Only time will tell. Another thing, and I'm pretty convinced that Kaido's son has something to do with the favor. If you remember, I think it was during Reverie that Big Mom was talking to Kaido on the phone, and she said, "You owe me a favor, mama." And then Kaido said, "That was years ago. That was a very long time ago." So I happen to think that Kaido's son could be connected to whatever favor it is Kaido owes Big Mom. Also, the fact that we're barely hearing about Kaido's son now kind of gets me to think that maybe there's a part of Kaido that is embarrassed of him. You know, right now, like the impression that I'm getting is that he's a shut-in, that Kaido's son is a shut-in, and also that he's not very strong. I could be totally wrong about this, but here's my logic, right? If Kaido's son was really that strong or was really that big of a threat, like why isn't he a commander? Why isn't he occupying king or queen or jack spot, right? Because like Big Mom's children, Katakuri, like she has Yonko commanders that are her children. Because it would make sense that if Kaido's son was really strong, he would be a calamity. But he's not. In fact, he's not even part of the Flying Six. And again, this is the first time we've ever heard of him. So what's going on there? Something is going on. But let me know what you think.
Now, it turns out that due to a sanitary precaution within Shueisha, we're not going to get a chapter next week. And then also, after we get 978, after we get the chapter after this one, there's a break after we get the next chapter. So it looks like what we're looking at is that we only have one chapter left, essentially, for the month of April.
That's going to do it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I actually thought this chapter was a very fun one. It was a very fun transition chapter. Let me know your thoughts about it down below. Thank you so much for everything that you do. If you like the review, you know what to do. Take care. Catch you guys later. Stay safe. Bye.